Missy Hyatt here with Manuel P. Asensio, who is one of the 3 candidates running in the Republican primary for the 3rd Congressional District seat in Florida. Now, for the last few days, I've got to drill you and ask you over 40 questions about things that I think myself and the voters would like to know. But now I want to give you the opportunity to speak and talk.
On radical extremism in America.
Yes.
Okay. And I appreciate the discipline, but you characterized what you did in this interview, which you formulated yourself, and I agreed to cooperate with fully, since Scott Kamek is hiding.
Yes.
Lying and hiding.
Lying and hiding.
And yet she's endorsed by Trump.
Yeah, which Trump needs to rescind that, I believe.
Anyway, for more reasons than one.
Mm-hmm.
You presented those 41 subjects, and by the way, I've got 9 pages of notes here.
Yes.
And I couldn't, you went from one to the other and labeled them, and you stood in that label, and if you didn't like something that belonged in that label and you wanted to, or you didn't get what you wanted in that, you went again back. So there were actual subject matters, topics labeled by subject, very narrowly, 41 of them. So I would say I question if any other congressional candidate in the United States for the 118th Congress has subjected themselves to that kind of openness, and that's what my campaign is about.
Kamek wouldn't do it.
Oh, no, yes.
Or Justin Waters wouldn't do that.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
Justin. Vanilla. Plain vanilla.
Yeah. Can of beans.
Can of beans put there just to split the anti-Kat Kamek vote, which is big here.
Yeah.
So, that's a sad, we went over this several times. Now it's going to be in 41 different subjects. I can't remember what we talked about, how wrong it is for the GOP, the Grand Old Party, the Republican Party, in the state and in the counties here. And I said, I hope the new counties that come into this district have a different view of Kat and make sure that she does show up for the debate.
Right.
Put that down. But I asked you to leave this for a longer segment, even though you don't want to do those. And we did deal with racism. We did deal with critical race theory. And I wanted to talk about the importance of polarization in American politics, which is, I think, in my book right now, second to inflation. And inflation is a governance problem. And I deal with it as a governance problem because I have on my campaign the nation's leading authority on the calculation of the real inflation rate, which is 20%. And lying is an issue in government.
Well, government lies.
Yes. But how can they lie to us? I mean, how do they have the nerve to lie to us about inflation when we all know it's over 20% and they're saying it's 7%, how much that impacts everything? It's wonderful. But that's a fact. That's a matter of radical lying, right? Which is radical extremism. And I like to put them in order, but it's hard to. Which one of these is more important? Radical secularism, radical feminism, which affects families and children, motherhood, fatherhood, radical sexualization. No, beyond. No, I don't think it's a coincidence that we went from same-sex marriage to teenage girls wanting to mutilate their bodies and take off their breasts, and boys in the same government getting involved in that somehow, right?
And that's gone up 100%. Boys wanting to be girls and girls wanting to be boys because of all the publicity and all of it on TV.
There was a fringe part of society always that we never spoke about, and we never made it an issue to our children. It's just like dramatizing our children with global warming.
Right.
It's terrible. And it's all Marxist ideology, socialist and communism. That's why on my website I have a poll of Americans. How do you feel about radical secularism, radical sexualization, radical racism? And we spoke about that in very harsh terms. And the idea that I wanted to explore with you here after we close is, how do we deal with that? How do we deal with the radicalization of politics? I have my views, and I wanted to share, just have a lengthier conversation about this issue because I'm so passionate about it, because radical feminism is at the heart of what was done to my daughter. And it can only be enforced through a complete destruction of the rule of law, presumption of innocence, all the due process, a fair jury, a jury, you know, they can be fair or unfair. Let's get 12 of them. The absence of a jury is a very serious problem. Neutral principles. Equal protection. What happened to that? I mean, equal protection become like the sword they get you with, instead of the shield that we're all protected under. And the same goes through to racism. Who ever heard of, white supremacy? It's incredible. White guilt. Where's it going to end? In Marxism. If we don't stop it now. And those are the things that Trump was dealing with. So I wanted to have sort of an exchange of conversation. I don't know, I know you don't enjoy talking, or you don't want to talk about the certification problem. And Mike, Twitter Mike, the $40 million judge, I speak about it that way because on my website people should know.
Right. Well, people should know about what happened. I mean, people should know the truth about what happened.
And I certainly know the facts. Coca-Cola. How come Coca-Cola hired Mike on January 6th, 2021?
He hasn't paid him how much money, was it?
We don't know. It's not been disclosed. But there's a press release on Coca-Cola's website.
Okay.
So we're going outside the borders of radical. This is my time.
Okay.
And I wanted to have an exchange with you about how I know you don't like to talk about federal judiciary policy. But on the other hand, if you don't fix the rule of law, how are you going to have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, self-governing, and protecting it from the borders of Congress and the borders of the limits on government? If you don't control government, isn't that job one? And that's what my laws do. First, they control the judiciary, and second, they control the separation of powers, particularly the Department of Justice and its leader in Washington, the U.S. Attorneys General, and the 2,500 trial judges that have this wide discretion over what the president's job is, what his take care of law is, power. I mean, he's the only nationally elected government official. He's only there for 4 years. And we're going to have him submitted to 50 injunctions in 48 months.
And they're still trying to impeach him.
Yeah.
And he's not even in office anymore.
Yes. We'll keep him off the ballot.
Right. That's what they want
Keep
to
him
try
out
to
of
do.
the primaries.
Yeah.
Have him on the defense all the time. That's the essence of radical extremism. That's what we are all concerned about. That's the polarization. If you polarize so much one way, how are you going to win? They've gone so far to the left and normalized that. Where is a Republican conservative, or is he? And can you be a part of the Republican establishment and still fight this radical extremism? The whole family of radical extremism. racism, hate of God, disbelief in the Bible, the value of the ethics, principles, morals, and learnings of the Bible all the way from the Old Testament to the New Testament. The historical development of government through the different leaderships in Rome, Greece, and then England. That's
At
what
least
we
we're
sit
not
upon.
subjects here. At least being in America, yeah.
Remember, they're trying to take
Or
away
they're
the
trying
value
to
of
teach us like
citizenship.
that,
Yeah.
yeah.
As subjects, we're
Because we're taking off.
what are we? What are we? We can't be said. Why can't we be? The citizenship question we talked about.
Yeah, but the
Isn't that-
citizenship person
isn't that
taking
radical?
off the census, that's like making us all making us all subjects. If you're not a citizen, I mean, you're a citizen, you have rights when you're a citizen. You should have rights.
Yeah, you should have ownership.
Yeah.
You should have the ultimate equity. Your country, your government, your constitution, your Declaration of Independence, your Bill of Rights.
Well, that's why I fly the Bonnie Blue flag in front of my house. Florida's first flag. I'm a first generation Floridian and first generation American. I'm proud to be it. Yeah, very proud to be it. But right now it's going on in Washington and what they're doing with their tentacles all out, getting into everybody's lives. It's just like, get out of my life. You're not supposed to be in here. That's not what the founding fathers thought. That's why we have guns, to stop the...
I think you did a fabulous job, and I really learned a lot from the process, and I thank you so much. I'm comfortable with what we've done, and I'm happy, and
Good, I'm glad.
I'm sure that you'll, we'll meet again. And thank you for your endorsement, and thank you for your introduction to some of your fellow wrestlers.
Yes.
See if we can wrestle.
And hopefully you'll get a lot of great comments.
Yes, and we use the wrestling term with Jim Jordan, who is a leader of federal judiciary policy, which I know in the House, and I said it's wrestle time because I know you didn't know this, but he is the two-time champion in Ohio for wrestling.
Oh, but that's a different wrestling.
Yes, that is. It's not.
That's
it's
the
not,
fake wrestling.
but it's not what you call a predetermined.
All right,
Predetermined.
scripted.
Predetermined scripted, but dangerous and wonderfully entertaining. And I'm glad I learned. I saw you were a window into that world.
Right.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for understanding my questions, and thank you for answering them honestly.
They were subject matters, and you divided them up into 40 different subjects. And if you didn't like the way we covered the subject, I want the people to know that you came back with the subject again and said, we've already done that, we've already done that.
Right. Well, everyone, don't forget to vote on August 23rd. That's the primary date. And getting ready for November, let's take back the House and the Senate, and let's do this right.